Thank you. I will ask my chaplain, the Reverend Sudarshan, to open the meeting with prayers for those who wish.
Let us pray. Almighty God, our Creator and Sustainer, even as we are gathered here, we know that your mercies are new every morning. We give thanks to you for your faithfulness in the past, and we, trusting in your promises for the future, as we are gathered here, we commit into your hands all our thoughts, our aspirations, our hopes, and our fears into your hands. We give thanks to you for all those who have served you here faithfully in this place and who continue to serve you and your people here and in the future. We commit this day's proceedings into your hands, knowing that you are with us. As Moses said, Lord, we are not going if you are not coming with us. We go forward in faith, believing that you are with us today and always. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Rejoicing in God's promises, let us pray the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. May the peace of God that passes all understanding keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be among you, remain with you, with all those whom you love, and with all those whom you serve, this day and always. Amen.
Good morning, councillors. The first item on our agenda today is to elect a chairman for the County Council for the year 2023-2024. Please, can I have any nominations for chairman? Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd very much like to nominate Councillor Robert Reid, your current loyal Vice Chairman of the Council, who I know has been helping you through your year. We've just had a busy year, I have to say. So I'd like to propose Robert, who has been on this Council some time now, and I'm sure will do an excellent job, and especially with his past experience in the business world, I think he'll be a huge asset for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Stokes.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted to second Robert to be Chairman. I've known Robert for many years, and I know he'll be a fantastic Chairman who will represent Lincolnshire extremely well, and with a little bit of theatre, I'm sure, in the chair. All right, thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we will now put the nomination to the council. Those in favour, please show. Do we need the exact numbers? No. Yes. Well, clearly carried. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Right, thank you. Right, well, I'm very pleased to announce the name of the new chairman then is Councillor Robert Reid. And we welcome you in a moment when you've signed the appropriate documents. Right. It's now my pleasure to welcome you as chairman, and you will find that the change is much easier than it was 12 months ago.
Thank you very much.
Right, I will now. Oops. Yes, I've dropped the pen.
Members of Council, may I take this opportunity to firstly thank my proposer and seconder, along with all members who have supported my nomination as Chairman of the County Council. I would like to thank Councillor Alison Austin for her support during my term of office as Vice Chairman. Alison and Richard have been incredible ambassadors for the county and represented Lincolnshire with true dedication. Both Julia and myself are very much looking forward to my civic term of office, and I shall wear the chain with pride and represent Lincolnshire County Council to the best of my ability. Thank you all. It is now my duty to pass on to our previous chairman, her past chairman's badge. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And now to invite her to speak. Okay. Are there any members that wish to speak first? No. Alison.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank the new Chairman, Councillor Robert Reid, and his wife, Julia, for their help during my term of office and for the kind words that he said about me. I wish you well in your year, Councillor Reid. When I took over as Chairman of the Council in May 2022, I had no idea what lay ahead of us. What a memorable year it turned out to be. My term of office was kick-started with the joyous celebrations of Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and I attended a colourful event at Lincoln Castle. Although I don't intend to mention everything that I've done, obviously, there are some significant events that I will refer to. Sadly, in the summer, we learned of the sudden death of our colleague, Angela Newton, a great loss to this council. In early September, I attended a major closure event at RAF Scampton, the potential consequences of which are now in front of us locally. Only literally a few days later, this was followed by the sad passing of our Queen Elizabeth II, which saw the world come together to mourn the loss of our longest reigning monarch. Following that, however, we have recently celebrated the coronation of King Charles III, and I was honoured to have been involved in the county service to mark this occasion. Platinum Jubilee celebrations, then the death of a reigning monarch, and that followed by the coronation of a new king, all falling within my year of office. What a privilege. On the many occasions that I have attended services in the cathedral during my year of office, I believe that I was not just representing this council, but I was there on behalf of all the people of Lincolnshire. A few other brief points. We commemorated the 70th anniversary of the East Coast floods at Ingermells in January. This was particularly significant for me because I clearly remember the day of those floods when I was a child living in the safety of Curtin. I was able to emphasise with many of the guests at the reception in the North Sea Observatory. A true highlight for me was my service of dedication held in my home village of Wibberton last October. And I thank Sudarshan for being my chaplain and also for allowing us to have the service there. And I thank also those members who attended the service in our local church and for supporting me at such a special occasion. As councillors, we must not lose sight of the important fact that we are there to serve all the people of Lincolnshire. And I specifically wish to bring the County Council to the people of my area. On several occasions, I attended prize-giving ceremonies at which young people received educational awards, something that is very important if we are to have a skilled workforce in Lincolnshire. In addition, we have welcomed many new citizens from around the world to our county during recent months, and I have valued playing my part on those occasions at the citizenship ceremonies which have taken place here in Lincoln. I hope I have been a good ambassador for the county. I couldn't have done this without the help and support I have had from my husband, Richard. We will take away many happy memories. Moreover, I owe sincere thanks to our civic officer, Rachel, who, I can't see her, to Rachel, who has supported me whenever I have asked for advice, and also to Kim in Democratic Services, because in some respects, it was a very lonely year for me as a standalone, independent councillor. This is just a brief snapshot of my year, and we'll just add at this moment that I, along with some others in this chamber, attended the funeral yesterday afternoon of our former colleague, Tony Turner. I don't think you would say it was a sad occasion. It was a celebration of a lifetime, a long lifetime of service. Right, you've heard enough from me. I'm now looking forward to returning to my normal seat in the council chamber and becoming a part of a group once again. Thank you.
Comfortably seated. Thank you very much. So the first of my duties is for the election of a Vice Chairman for the County Council. I ask members to look at item 2. I invite nominations for Vice Chairman, please.
Mr Chairman, I'd like to propose Councillor Eddie Strengle to be Vice Chairman for the forthcoming year. Eddie is originally from Tain in the north of Scotland, and he joined the army at 18. 24 years later, along with his wife Sandra and 2 young children, they decided to settle in Lincoln. Eddie has served on the County Council for a total of 10 years and has also served on Lincoln City Council for 30 years, first elected in 1991. During that time, both councils he has served on many committees. He's been leader of the City Council and served as the 398th Mayor of Lincoln in 2004-05. I have great pleasure in proposing Councillor Eddie Strengle. I believe he will be a great ambassador for Lincolnshire County Council and will be helping you and by your side, Chairman, over the next 12 months. So I'd like in this forthcoming year to propose Councillor Eddie Strengle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for the nomination?
Thank you, Chairman. It would be an honour to second Eddie as Vice Chairman of the Council. Eddie is probably one of the best councillors I know. He's always fighting for Lincoln and fighting for Lincolnshire, so I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job over the next year and as Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations, please? No, I see none. Therefore, I'll put the nomination. Those in favour, please. Those against? And any abstentions? Therefore, I announce the result and welcome the Eddie Strengle to be our new Vice Chairman. And I invite him to come up to the front and to accept make his declaration and indeed the chain of office. Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words as our new Vice Chairman?
Well, I'm sure there's a few that probably wouldn't want me to say a few words because I can't go on a bit, but I won't. Thank you, Chairman. First, may I congratulate you and your Chairman's Lady Julie, who I haven't met yet, but nice to see you there. I wish you a wonderful year and hope to support you as and when you require it. May I also congratulate Alison and Richard for their wonderful year. And you could tell that Alison was a teacher in the past because she certainly kept us in check, that's for sure. I'd like to thank Tricia for proposing me and thank Richard for seconding. I feel deeply honoured to serve as Vice Chairman of Lincolnshire County Council and hope to carry out the duties with the respect and the dedication the position deserves. Finally, Council, thank you for your support this morning. With that, thank you.
Thank you very much. So can I now turn to our Chief Executive, Debbie Barnes, to announce if we have any apologies today, please.
Thank you very much. We've received the following apologies. Councillor Bowles, Councillor Cook, Councillor Haiggs, Councillor Key, Councillor Mrs Overton, MBE, and Councillor Parker. Thank you.
Thank Thank you very much for those. So we will now move on to councillors' interests. Do any councillors have any interests which they wish to declare? Councillors, remember that there's no need to declare any of the interests that have already been recorded with the Register of Disclosure of Pecuniary Interests or notified to the monitoring officer in accordance with the relevant authorities and the regulations of 2012. Where councillors do declare an interest, they must state what the interest is. Councillors must not speak or vote on the item. Should anybody have any query about the declarations, please seek advice from officers in advance of the meeting. Are there any declarations at all? No, thank you very much. So, turning next to the minutes of the meeting of the County Council, which were held on the 17th of February 2023. The minutes of the meeting of the County Council held on the 17th of February 2023 be approved as a correct record and signed by the Chairman. Are you all in favour? Agreed. Thank you very much. I will duly sign those then. Thank you. How do you want a signature? Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so my next duty is for the election, for the result of the by-election for Eagle and Highcombe West, the electoral division. A report by the Executive Director Resources has been circulated. We now move on to item 6 of the agenda, that the electoral return as set out in Appendix A to report be noted. I would like to take this opportunity in formally welcoming Councillor Briggs to his first meeting of Council. Okay. So turning to Chairman's announcements, I would like to welcome you all to the Chamber today and thank you for taking part in the County Council photograph. Could I please remind members that Lincolnshire's show will be held this year on Wednesday the 21st and Thursday the 22nd of June at the County Showground. You're all invited to take part in the Meet Your Councillor section of our stand. Further details will follow. I am proposing to hold a service of dedication and thanksgiving in Lincoln Cathedral on Sunday the 10th of September 2023. Invitations will be sent to you nearer the date, but in the meantime I would like to appreciate it if you could note this date in your diaries. For me there is a particular poignancy being a Nottinghamshire Cathedral Grammar School boy and Southall or Southall being the county cathedral. I will have with much honour doing a similar situation and carry out the duties here in Lincoln. Next, I'm sorry, it is with great sadness that I report the death of 3 of our county councillors. Firstly, David Malby, who was county councillor for the former Holbeach Fen division, having been first elected in May 1977 and retiring in 2001. Mr. Malby served as deputy leader of the council from 1997 to his retirement in 2001. Secondly, Tony Turner, MBE and JP, who represented the North Wolds electoral division until the retirement in May 2021, having first been elected to the council by a by-election in August 1995. He served for 26 years on the county council, having previously been elected to the former Cleethorpes Borough Council in 1954, and also elected to the former Humberside County Council. Thirdly, Ken Bridger, who represented the Market Rasen Wolds electoral division from May 2005 to June 2009. Would you now please stand for a minute's silence to pay tribute in the normal way? Thank you. I would now like to provide an opportunity for any councillor that wishes to. Councillor Martin Hill.
Thank you. Just a few words, well, some words about the three departed ex-councillors. Obviously, Ken Bridger, 4 years as a Liberal Democrat representative of Market Raisin. He was a quiet gentleman, but quietly and effectively represented the residents of that area. Secondly, David Morby served on this council for 25 years, as you stated, Chairman, Deputy Leader, but also Chairman of the Highways Committee, as it was in those days, for quite a considerable period, which is probably the most challenging role there is in county councils. And again, he had a long period of service and he had a lot of experience in terms of horticulture, being in that business, and he actually very actively promoted the interests of Lincolnshire, but particularly the whole beach and the fens with his knowledge. Finally, of course, Tony Turner, of course, as you said, he was here 25 years. That was only half of it, wasn't it? So amazing, isn't it? 67 years. I think it's been beaten nationally, but I'm not sure it has. And it was a tremendous record of service. And he was an example of, public service. And we, as Alison said, we attended his funeral yesterday, which was lovely in the beautiful village of Swallow, in the beautiful church and churchyard of Swallow. And Tony is now buried in this lovely birds tweeting, and they're actually with his wife now under this huge cherry tree. So it was a lovely spot, probably a beautiful place, final resting place for a beautiful person. Tony had seen it all in those years. He'd been on all these councils, and he'd seen it. He used to say, I've seen everything in my time. To me, he was, not only to me, I think he was a very good voice of wisdom. He used to sort of sidle into my office and give me some very quiet but very pertinent advice about what his view it was. He had very strong views, and I saw the MP yesterday who said he wasn't shy of telling his MP what he thought was wrong, but he was very firm but very quiet, but a very wise old bird, and a fantastic record of public service which will never be equal, I think, certainly in Lincolnshire and probably not nationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those touching words, and very appropriate. Councillor Karen Lee, I understand you would like to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I didn't know the councillors in question before my turn, but they certainly sound like strong characters, and you have to admire anybody who gives their time for public service. And I wanted to pass on the condolences of the Labour group. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Stephen Bunning.
Thank you, Chair. Ken Bridger and I joined Market Raisin Town Council at the same time some 20 years ago. We both realised that active service and working in the community were part of that role. Community cohesion, environmental matters and his faith as an active member of the New Life Church were an important part of his life and service to the community. Ken went on, as you heard, to serve here as a county councillor and also on West Lindsey District Council. He encouraged me to follow the same path on my retirement from De Aston School. I thank Ken for his friendly advice and guidance over the years.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Tom Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to at first echo the comments of Councillor Bunny. I had the privilege of serving with Ken on Market Rasen Town Council, and he was always very kind with his time and always very willing to give me, as a very young councillor, in fact West Lindsay's youngest at the time, words of advice and wisdom. As the leader said, I attended Tony's funeral yesterday, and it was a lovely service in the beautiful Swallow, which is obviously part of the division that I now am honoured to serve. And although unfortunately due to Tony's illness I didn't get the chance to know Tony as well as I would like, I regularly see and speak with his daughter Clarissa, who is on the parish council, and I know I still have some very big shoes to fill, and hope if I can be half the man Tony was, I'm doing the right thing, Chairman. But no, very lovely service, and very sad to hear the passing of all three county councillors.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I think we're concluded on those. Thank you very much indeed. I join with those that have spoken, not knowing any of these councillors personally, but obviously on behalf of the council, pass on my condolences as well. Now, turning to item 8 on the agenda for today is the leader to report on executive portfolios and appointments to the executive and executive support councillors. Councillor Hill, would you like to report?
Yes, thank you. It has been circulated. It looks very familiar, Chairman, so I just move it as it's been circulated.
Thank you very much indeed. And I note that that's on Schedule 1 of the attachments, details of appointments. Moving to item 9 of today's agenda, statements and announcements by the leader and members of the executive. I understand that these are in the booklet for 2023, which I think is circulated. Councillor Hill, would you like to say anything further?
Yeah, I will say a few words, Chairman. As you said, there is a booklet that's been circulated, which is a piece from me, but just as importantly, there's an update from all the portfolio holders, so that members have if they wish to, they can have a record and copy of all the activity which happens in this, or some of the activity, because I never cease to amaze me just how much work and activity this council does with a £1 billion budget. But if you try to write out everything that happens here on a routine basis, it would take quite a long time. So I think it's a record, just a summary of some of the achievements of the council that all of us here have managed to oversee and make sure that our staff deliver on our behalf. Obviously, it was a challenging year. Yes, the one that's just finished. We had the tail end of the pandemic. We've had the war in Ukraine. We've had the challenges of the surge towards net zero, and of course we've had high inflation. So in all those ways that it has been very challenging, and I'm pleased to say, because of the robust finances and the robust way this council carries on its business, we are in good shape, and I have to say in much better shape than many other councils across the country who are facing similar challenges. The services have remained either good or outstanding, and there's more good news to follow on that front, but they are all being delivered, and I always remind people that what is our primary purpose as a council is to make sure those services are delivered well and with good value for money for the residents that we represent. For example, we've also had to help distribute the substantial government grants that have been allocated in the past year, including the Household Support Fund, which was £11 million, the Holiday Activity Fund, £2.7 million, and the Homes for Ukraine, £12 million, to support all those families who are in Lincolnshire at the moment who escaped the horrors of war. We've had a big programme of building as well, and special schools and children's homes. We've also had disruption to schools due to the tail end of the pandemic and, unfortunately, strike action by some teachers. We've also supported victim support has been increased as well. We're building new fire stations. And also in waste, we are rolling out a paper and card across the county, and hopefully now the district elections are over, we'll be able to carry on with that programme across the whole of the county. Roads continues to be a challenge, but also, as we all know, we put extra funding in there, so the repair programme has been enhanced even more, and there are, as you know, there are various schemes which are being promoted or built as we speak. In terms of, we've also, the changes of government legislation, continues apace, and we try and keep up with that. So, for example, the LEP, or the Economic Partnership of Lincolnshire, that will not be funded after next year, but we have got a situation now where we are in good, they've been very successful and have very good relations with the county council, so we're sure that even though it's not funded, we will be able to carry on the good work they do. The duties will come back to the county council, but we're very sure that we want to continue to get the support of businesses and others to continue that success story. Devolution will come to a head very shortly, so before the autumn we'll have to decide on whether we are actually going to formally put a bid in. So there's going to be quite a lot of activity behind the scenes, but hopefully I will be able to report some progress, and then if we can get a bid into the government later this year, then obviously it's up then to the government to decide whether to accept this bid, and then potentially for a devolution deal which would start in May 2025. But there's a lot of ground to cover, but it is going to be quite a, I think, hectic period in that process. Finally, the challenges of migration, which we're all very well aware of in Lincolnshire, whether it be hotels, whether it be Afghans or Hong Kong residents, and all the different strands of migration. Of course, the latest major challenge is the potential use of ex-RAF Scampton as a centre for many migrants, and again I think that will be a very challenging period, and we're working very closely with West Lindsey District Council, City of Lincoln Council, to make sure that if it does happen, that it is done in a sensible way, and local government is properly reimbursed for the no doubt substantial costs that will then come along with potentially 2,000 residents. So with that, I do commend this booklet to all members, and you can read for yourself some more detail. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Dills.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your elevation, and to the Vice Chairman too. In the interest, if I might say, of openness, accountability and scrutiny, I'd like to thank you for this book. I think it is a real step forward. I look forward to reading it with interest, and I just say thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We're there. Okay. It wasn't that long ago, I think it was only last week, I actually had my hand on the 2022 book, so it's very fitting that we moved on to 2023. Moving to item 10, the political proportionality and allocation of seats to committees and subcommittees on the agenda. Do I have a proposer and seconder, please?
Thank you.
Beg your pardon.
Oh, sorry.
Through you, Chair, the Labour vacancy on planning will be taken up by Councillor Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, there are some movements, because obviously Councillor Austin is now joined the Spalding Independent Group, so there have been some negotiations, and I think I can now propose this proportionality and how it works to the Council with unanimous agreement.
Okay, so I beg your pardon. Councillor Brockway to second.
Yes, seconded, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any other speakers? Yes, Councillor Dills.
Chairman, apologies for getting on my feet straight away again. Under children and young people, from the independent group, may I change Councillor Cleaver to Councillor Baxter? And for the pensions vacancy for our group, could I put myself down for that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for those clarifications. Okay, so no other speakers. Can I Ask members, those that are in favour, please. Looks unanimous, isn't it? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So the motion is carried. So, item 11 today is the appointment of chairman and vice chairman of committees and subcommittees. Item 11 has Schedule 4, which details the nominations for chairman and vice chairman and has been circulated prior to the start of the meeting. Is there a mover and seconder for these, please?
Thank you, Chairman. It has, as you state, it has been circulated. I so move.
Thank you very much indeed. A second?
Yes,
Thank
I'd
you.
like to second, thanks.
Okay, so are there any other speakers? No? Fair enough. So can I ask again for those in favour, please? That's unanimous again. Thank you very much indeed. So, moving to item 12, questions to the chairman, the leader, executive councillors and chairman of committees and subcommittees. Before moving into this item, it's with regret that the time appliance behind us, that in the 7 years that I've been coming into the chamber, I've watched, you can clearly see isn't working today. I beg all of you not to not to take advantage. However, I have got a timepiece here that does actually know that. So there we go. So with perhaps the first touch of theatre, let's move on. So question 1 is from Councillor Morn to Councillor Richard Davies, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Road safety remains a top priority for residents in Hough Division, so I'm delighted that Lincolnshire County Council has heard our local concerns about the zebra crossing in Great Gunnerby and have agreed to upgrade and relocate this to a puffing crossing with associated traffic lights and works. This will improve visibility for motorists and pedestrians crossing the busy B1174 Grantham Road in Great Gunnerby. This is welcome news, and I'm particularly grateful to Great Gunnerby Parish Council, who have supported the campaign for these improvements with a generous financial contribution to the planned works. So I'd ask Councillor Davis for an update on progress to date with this project and a commitment to complete the puffing crossing alongside a planned road resurfacing scheme in the village by spring 2024.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, thank you for the question. I'm always keen to be held accountable for civil engineering works. It's a real joy of this job. But you're right. I mean, we did a site visit there, didn't we, some time ago? It's a really busy stretch of road. There's a lot going on there with a school, a shop, and a crossing that's, you know, well out of date, and the road surface is being done. I think it's a good example of a piece of work where we're going to be resurfacing the road, putting a new crossing in, and it'll be a real improvement for the centre of the village. The latest information I have is that spring 2024 is very doable. The risks are around, you know, when we start pinning back the road, what do we think's there? But all the utility checks have been done. I would make the wider point, actually, as part of our community crossings programme, we're looking at rolling out nearly 20 pedestrian crossings around the county and upgrades. Many colleagues in this room will have asked me about them. We've got them coming in lots of different places around, and they're a really great piece of infrastructure. They cost a lot more than people think. They're more than a bit of paint and a couple of lights. They can be as expensive as £250,000, depending on the location. But they're great for pedestrians. They're great for getting people out of their cars and moving around, particularly to and from schools. And they also act as a kind of a traffic calmer as well. So we have a really extensive programme over the next couple of years of rolling these out. And I look forward to seeing them opening and getting my photograph taken next to as many of them as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Davies. Councillor Julie Kelly, please, for our leader, Councillor Martin Hill.
Oops. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of my constituents in Park Ward suffer from fuel poverty. In the light of this, the national news recently reported that wind turbines have generated more electricity than gas from wind farms, for the first time. The National Grid also confirmed that in April 2023, saw a record period of solar energy generation. Given the county's commitment to green energy generation, what's the current position in Lincolnshire to move towards zero carbon emissions? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. You've got my response
All right.
on this because I deal with the Green Master Plan for Lincolnshire, and there'll be a further report to this council presently on how we're progressing with the Green Master Plan. I'll tell you firstly, we're ahead of the government's own targets in terms of Lincolnshire, so we will be further ahead on the 2030 target than the government itself will be. So I think that's credit to this authority and to all the cross-party agreement we have on moving forward and our investments in green energy ourselves as an authority. We were one of the first councils to put solar panels on our buildings, our schools, etc., our fire stations, and we'll continue to invest because it makes sense, because it's an investor-save mechanism to do so, as much as the green agenda. We've got to look after the taxpayers' money and do it well. And so we've made some good investments, and that's clearly seen in how we've managed to reduce our own emissions as an authority. Obviously, we've taken what I would consider to be the low-hanging fruit, obviously. So the much more challenging issues around traffic management, carbon emissions from traffic, and all these things are the ones we're going to have to really think about in the future. In terms of the question about energy, however, you have to remember that intermittent generators of energy, solar and wind in particular, always need to have a base load. So whilst on one day in February you can meet your entire grid demand from a renewable technology, somewhere in the background we've still got gas-fired power stations ticking over, emitting carbon emissions. So until we find a solution to that, you know, I would personally say we're probably going too far in planting turbines and solar panels over everything. We've got to deal with the baseline of how we actually have an energy policy in this country that can really take you to zero carbon emissions. And at the moment, I don't think energy policy will take us there. We need a much wider discussion as a nation about the cost. And I have to say, I've seen a report this week that forecasts electricity costs will go up by a further 10% this October. And a lot of that is down to the heavy amount of subsidies that are expected to have to be given to wind and solar in particular, because it's pegged against the price of gas, which has now fallen. So I think, you know, for the general public, we need to have a really grown-up conversation about that. And I don't think this nation's having that at the moment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Davey. Councillor Richard Cleaver, please, for Councillor Richard Davis.
In September 2021, which is now over 18 months ago, this council agreed to investigate its speed limit policies in relation to the use of 20-mile-per-hour speed limits. Please can you report on the progress of this investigation and tell us when you expect it to be concluded, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and congratulations for your recent promotion. I was half expecting you to turn up with some scrambled egg on your shoulder or something. I have to say, sorry, that's slightly flippant. That is a matter for scrutiny. Scrutiny you're looking at, it's outside of my direct control. Although I know the scrutiny are trying to put it in place. There is a scrutiny panel that are due to have started looking at it, but I don't know when they are due to announce. But I'll find out from the Democratic Services and come back to you, Richard.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stephen Bunny, please, for Councillor Colin Davey.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Davey, I welcomed your comments last Monday at the Flood Management Committee, recognising that the incidence of high-intensity downpours is on the increase, along with the consequent damage to property, interruption of highways, and the mental health and well-being of the community. I was also interested in your comments that there is a need to shift environmental resources towards the consequences of global warming in the moment, the current time, and not just to the 2030-2050 targets which have been put out nationally. I was also interested in that you believe that developers, that in the planning process we need to ensure that developers are not in a position to change drainage conditions once they have been applied at the initial granting of permission. Could you please confirm that these are your views and elaborate on how the council will be bringing them about in the future?
Thanks, Councillor Bunny, and firstly I'd thank you for the work you're doing within your community in terms of managing some of the issues that you've had to face recently. Next year, April, we will the formal process of handing powers to this council will take place from the government in relation to the SUDS legislation. So we will have a responsibility in terms of how we respond to planning applications and to ensure those conditions are imposed in a way that development does not impose problems on those already existing and living in a community. So that is a piece of movement that is already underway within government, and that will be a new responsibility at Burdens. And obviously we have to look as a council about how we're going to fulfil that. As you'll be aware, there are huge numbers of planning applications in every district area. But we will meet those obligations and requirements, and I'm sure I'll be working closely with my colleague Councillor Davies in making sure that those conditions in relation to highway build or highway accesses are dealt with in a way that helps communities rather than puts another problem on their shoulders. I'm very clear that we need a much more grown-up approach to how developments take place in our communities. There are, I think, far too much going on, and you know, I know from a report that I've seen on a council agenda elsewhere for next week, the comments of Mark Baxter, our Chief Fire Officer, in relation to the coastal issues. We have to recognise that the world is changing, so it's not a question of if, as Mark Baxter said, it's a question of when we're going to have to deal with further torrential downpour events or coastal inundation. So we need to prepare, and that's what we have a resilience forum for. And I think members need to engage in that, and I'm sure my colleague Councillor Corey will be happy to arrange for people to go down to South Park and see how that actually works in practice and how members engage with that. And I'm always quite happy to take questions privately or on email from any members about this area, and I'm always happy to answer them. Thank you, Councillor Bunny.
Thank you very much indeed. It seems that you're very popular this morning, Councillor Davey. Councillor Colin Matthews, please, to ask his question to Councillor Colin Davey.
Councillor Davey, Colin. At our last council meeting, I asked you a question about the onshore routes for the Outer Dowsing wind farm and the implications for both the arrival point for that Outer Dowsing wind farm and for other outer offshore wind farms, and how they will connect with the national grid. I asked that question because my ward sits in the heart of the proposed development area as we understand it, and the community are very concerned about the prospect of 50-metre pylons marching their way down the outside of the wolds and 300 acres of land being put under concrete for substations and interconnectors. Some time has now passed. I'd be really grateful if you can give me an update on the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews, and I do feel for you in terms of all the potential infrastructure that might arrive in your division if all these plans do come to fruition, and I fear there is a driving government to put a lot of this stuff into Lincolnshire, and I would say dump it into Lincolnshire, because most of the power generated is not going to be used here in the Midlands region. It's heading south to London, and I'm quite clear, if you want to be fair about this, I'd like to see some of this stuff on the Berkshire Downs and elsewhere, rather than MPs telling us we have to have it, because it simply isn't fair. Moving on from the last conversation we had in this chamber about it, the what's called the Lincolnshire Green project, which is the pylon line proposal, will probably go live on the 1st of June in terms of a website, so it'll probably have very high level documents and pictures on it, but it's quite clear there is a proposal to bring a giant pylon line down the entire east coast from Cleethorpes down to Spalding, and then a further pylon line from those substation proposals at Alford out to Sleaford. These will be industrial scale pylons never seen before in the UK, something similar to the ones you might see in Germany. The giant industrial pylons are 50 metres plus in height. In addition to that, Humber Green will be announced on the 1st of June. That will include new infrastructure, interconnectors and a pylon line down the Trent Valley, just outside of our boundary, but it will mean that there'll be connection points for some of the bigger projects that are currently being handled by my planning team. And as you'll know, in this chamber there are 11 NSIPs in relation to solar, a number now for biodigesters. Yesterday, a number of licences were announced which will impact on Lincolnshire for carbon capture and storage. So Lincolnshire is attracting nearly everybody to the county, and some of those I think are highly speculative applications. We are going to have to respond to every single one of them in a proper process way. So I intend to bring to the council at some point in the not too distant future an energy position statement which will capture all of this stuff so we can have a debate and take a view on it. Quite honestly, what's going on is putting enormous pressure on our services in terms of the planning function and how we respond. And as we all know, recruitment at the moment is a major challenge, not just for the county council and the private sector, but district councils. Everybody is having a real struggle getting the right quality of advice to respond to this stuff. I'm not going to allow Lincolnshire to be overwhelmed or dumped on in any way, shape or form by any party, whether it's private or public. And we need to make sure that as a body, we are united in taking a clear view. And I'm also say finally that, you know, making the move to a zero carbon future needs to be a balanced approach, you know, and we have to get the balance right, because Lincolnshire's natural environment and what it does for tourism and the economy is as important as meeting some of the other challenges that we face.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clark for Councillor Wendy Bowkett.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations to you too. I hope you have a nice time.
Said with such enthusiasm. Thank
well,
you.
There you go. Councillor, how does the authority monitor home care providers who have been inspected by CQC and deemed requiring improvement needed, bearing in mind that a certain provider has a trend of amassing issues in 2018, 2019 and 2021? Therefore, could you give an insight into what process is followed by the authority to ensure providers the authority used do in fact address issues raised on the inspection? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark, for your question, and congratulations, Councillor Reid, on your appointment as chairman. I can assure you that we have 9 main home care providers that we commission, and they're all CQC registered, and their CQC registration are all good. We have a customer satisfaction questionnaire system, and in addition, when we give our social workers their yearly reviews, we also take on board we ask them questions to see if they've got any issues with any of our providers. We do realise, though, that providers do subcontract. Now, whether this is what you're talking about, I mean, obviously outside the meeting we can have a conversation about it, but we do closely oversee them, but obviously we don't have any, we can't say what they are doing. We can only, our 9 providers, we can only speak about. But I'm happy to look at your concerns. Obviously, if you have got issues, and as you say, 2018, 19 and 21, we do need to talk about it, and if we can have a chat outside the meeting, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley Baxter for Councillor Colin Davey.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations.
Thank you.
The question follows on in some ways from other people's questions, particularly Councillor Lee, about solar. And if you're worried about subsidies for solar, you're going to hit the roof when you find out how much it costs to subsidise nuclear. But my question is that the Environment and Economic Development Committee recently received an energy options analysis draft report, which is being undertaken at a cost of £109,067 to this authority. The first draft has very little mention of solar. In fact, the word is only mentioned twice. Can you give an assurance that the people of Lincolnshire will be given an opportunity to share their own aspirations and reservations about solar energy generation in a spirit of consultation? Thank you.
You can rest assured, Councillor Baxter, I like to hear the views from both sides in any consultation exercise, and I will make sure that we will do so in anything that we put forward. And just the first point you made about the cost of nuclear subsidies, at least nuclear is a permanent generator of power, and you have to balance subsidies for nuclear against intermittent subsidies. So I think you need to make sure that that conversation is in the round rather than a one-dimensional view of it. And I should congratulate you, of course, for your elevation to leadership in your district council, and I'm sure we'll be working together to make sure the residents of South Kesteven have a chance to express their views, not just on solar, but also express their views on other matters such as the economy and how their lives are going to improve under this new leadership in the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gibson, please, for Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Davis, we met last year for a ward walk, which I was very grateful for. During our tour, we discussed many topics. Whilst we was out on the Fenrose looking at the state of them, we discussed some machinery that potentially could be coming in the future that lifts the tarmac, rebinds it and relays it. This is something obviously we need in our Fenrose. They are becoming unpassable. I wonder if you have got any update for us on that type of machinery. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We do two forms of recycling now, in situ and foam base, both of which we've rolled out really extensively. The first trial of the in situ recycling was Oyster Fen Lane and Claypole. 3 or 4 years later, it's still looking really good. We have a programme across the county. I'll get the latest data for you as when what's going on in your patch. We are also exploring using it in some urban areas. It's not quite so good when you get to turning points, but particularly on long stretches of road, it's very effective. Because as colleague members will appreciate, one of the big costs of road construction is transport. So if you're not having to take out all new material, basically the principle is you dig up the road, you mix in some new binder, and then you relay it and reform it. So not only do you get a resurface, but you get a fresh camber. It's really effective, and you're not having to pay for huge disposal costs. So it's rolling out. We're doing quite extensively. I think we've done 500 or 600 miles over the last couple of years, but I'll get you the details for your area.
Thank you very much. Vice Chairman, Councillor Eddie Single to Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Davis, as you well know, the Western Growth Corridor development has been going on for quite a long time. In fact, I remember it starting in 1991 when I first became on the City Council, first got on. This development has moved forward now to 3,200 houses, potentially on the north side of Skellingthorpe Road. The biggest problem, would you believe, from the residents is not about the housing per se, it's about the infrastructure. And the developer has put in a proposal to make a one-way system on Birchwood Avenue from Woodfield Avenue to Skellingthorpe Road. Can you confirm to me or update me, please, as to whether it would be more suitable to have an open road, i.e. two-way system retained, and a three-way traffic light system in there? Because this will greatly impact, if it stays the same, on the residents of not only Birchwood, but the residents of Hartsholme, Bootham, and indeed the outlying areas such as Skellingthorpe. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We've met a number of occasions, haven't we, and looked at this site, Eddie. It's a really concerning development in terms of that amount of housing coming. I know we've worked with colleagues about it's going to happen, but now it is going to happen. We've got to make sure the local residents aren't unduly affected. I agree with you completely. I think the idea of making the road one way is potentially quite going to be difficult. I think it will make residents' lives much harder. I know the Highways and Development Management team are working closely with the developers to take on board your comments, and we've seen it firsthand, haven't we, how busy that stretch of the road can be at peak times. It's only going to get busier. I think it's important that two-way traffic is kept, but I think what we need to see is an updated, more advanced traffic signal system there to enable the road to be managed better. As soon as we've got confirmation that we can do that, I will of course update you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kim Lee, please, for Councillor Patricia Bradwell.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I add my congratulations? I'm sorry I forgot earlier. My question's for Councillor Bradwell. Friendly fire. It's about Castle Academy. As you all know, it's not been a positive environment for the pupils or the staff for quite some time, and the situation around the sixth form particularly is very concerning. But the last time I inquired of officers, which was the 10th of March, I was told the CEO had departed the trust and the trust was being temporarily led by another trust I won't name, in the interim, whilst the RD decides the next steps, and I believe it will be rebrokered into a new trust over the next year. Then a couple of weeks ago, I was told that Harbour Learning Trust are actually still there. So this morning, I just want to clarify which Learning Trust is actually at Castle Academy and what measures are being taken to ensure the pupils and staff see an improvement in performance in the immediate future, because I think both the pupils and the staff have both been let down there. It's not a positive environment. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And I get as frustrated as you do when we have schools going to whether it's special measures or it's inadequate. With regards to trusts, as you said though, is the Regional Schools Commissioner who makes all the decisions. I do know that our Assistant Director for Education, Martin Smith, regularly goes into that school at the moment, making sure that he's happy with what's happening. But until the Regional Commissioner finds a new trust to take over, we can only just go in, and we have relationships with academies and very good relationships. So actually, Martin would be welcome, and he will, advise them, or if he's not happy about something, would say that. But to be honest, we are, it's not like it used to be years ago where we had our local authority schools, our teams would go in, and we were more briefed on what was happening then. It is only sometimes after something's happened that we would know about it. So I can only apologise. I will get Martin Smith to just probably contact you, just have a conversation about where they are. But as I say, we've got several schools who are in this position as well, and it's not healthy, as you say, for the children or for families, especially when young people are coming up to taking exams or planning to take exams another year. But I will get Martin to get in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tom Dye, please, to Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations on your elevation to Chairman, and of course congratulations to Councillor Strengle on becoming the Vice Chairman. I was concerned actually in Councillor Bradwell's seconding of your Vice Chairmanship. I think she said you were the 398th Mayor of Lincoln. I know you're a little bit older than me, Eddie, but we've just crowned the 818th, so was that 500 or so years ago? but congratulations. Anyway. Chairman, the North Hycombe Relief Road will undoubtedly transform the traffic congestion and rat running issues that my residents face on a daily basis. The revised plan for the Viking Way link has caused much distress in Waddington, owing to the revised diversion that will route pedestrians away from the traditional route. Can the Executive Member for Highways assure my residents that every single such measure will be taken to ensure the new Viking Way link will be preserved as much as possible, minimising disruption and preserving views as far as practicable and ensuring the path is as accessible as possible?
Thank you for the question, and maybe Councillor Strangle can remember when the Viking Way was established, based on those numbers. But no, joking aside, it's a really serious matter. Whenever we build road schemes, invariably you have to move footpaths, and the Viking Way is an increasingly popular and busy route, both locally for kind of dog walkers and that kind of travellers, but also people, it's more of a destination journey. So it's really important we preserve it both for pedestrians, horse users, cyclists where applicable, etc. The counterpoint is that in this particular location, it's just not going to be feasible to build a bridge. Unfortunately, we can't do it everywhere. They're very expensive, but the angles and the lines and the heights mean that a bridge would require a huge amount of land uptake in terms of the abutments that go up towards it. So it's not going to be possible to do that. So our plan is to run both from north and from south the line as close to the road as possible, and then provide options going round to the nearest junction where people can cross it safely. It's quite a confusing situation, and I've probably hashed up my description. So what I would say is there's a lot more information on our website, but the next round of public consultations I think is in June, and we would ask, there'll be lots of plans, lots of maps for people to go along, that people can feed in their ideas, tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we're doing wrong, before the final planning goes in later on this year. So there is time for people to get their opinions in, and I know, working with yourselves and others, I've had commentary in from people like the British Horse Society, the Ramblers, lots of ideas, and we're going to try and plot our way through and find the most acceptable solution, albeit it won't keep everybody happy, and there are going to be people who are disadvantaged slightly, unfortunately.
Thank you very much.
Just point of information,
yes.
12th to the 14th of June, Andy's just advised me, for the public consultation.
Okay. Councillor Phil Dilks, please, for Councillor Richard Boothroyd.
Thank you. Good morning, Richard. Can I thank you for engaging with the community group in the Deepings, working to get our leisure centre repaired and reopened as soon as possible, as you said you would engage. And may I ask you for an update on progress? Thank you.
I just wanted to say congratulations, Chairman and Vice Chairman, on your appointments today. And thank you for the question, Councillor Dilks. It'd be remiss of me not to acknowledge the change in leadership at SKDC and the ruling party. I welcome any involvement they would want to go forward, and any sizable contributions they may want to make to the Deepings Leisure Centre. We're always open to contributions and a way forward. But on an update level, obviously we're continuing to engage with the Academy Trust. We are continuing to have engagement with the DFE with regards to, because at the end of the day, whatever we decide locally, it comes down to their sign-off and their approval. So we're continuing to do that. We met this week as a group in LCC just to talk about our way forward, and we're going to relook at and rewrite to the Department of Education to pressure this situation. We're obviously looking at all options, including demolition. I have to be honest and put that on the table, because the longer the site stays unoccupied, you know, we've got to look at all options. So we're doing that at the moment, but we continue to engage and work with local groups, and we look forward to moving this situation on, really. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King, please, for Councillor Richard Davey.
Hi, you do get picked on, don't you? Due to loads of, unprecedented weather we've had recently, we've experienced quite a lot of flooding in my local patch, due mostly to really blocked gullies, drains, etc. Can we have more of a schedule of works to stop this happening? They had to be called out in an emergency a couple of times. Our local pub actually had to throw people out in the middle of the day, not as opposed to in the evening. Just really because the place was flooded, and it was caused by blocked drains. It's the same in a lot of the rural areas where there's a lot of heavy farm machinery, obviously mud, etc. with that, and it does really cause major problems.
Thank you. I'm very disappointed to hear about a pub having to throw its punters out. That's terrible news. We'll get on that straight away. Just a couple of things I would say about it. Often people perceive it may be the gullies are blocked. Often, very often, particularly in your neck of the woods, and I don't know the exact location, but if you can let me know and I'll investigate it, it could be more of a capacity issue. A lot of our drainage network is very old. It's using relatively small bore, 20, 30, 40 mil pipes, and if you get a sudden deluge, the likes of which we're seeing a lot of now, where we didn't used to, I think, in the same way, others may disagree, there isn't the capacity in the network to take it away. However, what we are doing is instigating a more advanced programme of cleansing so that we focus on those gullies that need cleaning more often rather than just routinely going to them on an annual basis, because some of them never need emptying, it certainly not every year, whereas others we may need to go 2 or 3 times. But if you can give me some exact locations, Jane, I'll get that information for you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Skinner, please, for Councillor Richard Boothroyd.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations both to you and the Vice Chair, and wishing you an enjoyable and productive year. Councillor Richard Boothroyd, my question relates to Boston Coastal and in particular Leverton Fire Station. I'm getting many questions again from Parish Council asking if there's any progress. Could you enlighten us, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skinner, for the question. It's positive news. We continue to move forward. Heads of terms and legals are being developed at the moment. We're also looking as a property team to move forward with the planning application, because obviously that's tied with the legal heads of terms and actually buying the land for the development. And we're also looking at costs, developing costs, so we can get those signed off from a budget point of view for once the land deal and planning goes through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Alison Austin for Councillor Colin Davey.
Thank you, Chairman. I've already congratulated you, but well done for keeping your place in the order of proceedings. And congratulations to the new Vice Chairman. My question for Councillor Davey is as follows. As I understand, Lincolnshire County Council has a policy of promoting and supporting tree planting in the county in association with the late Queen's Green Canopy. Just before Christmas last year, a small local charity, the Boston Woods Trust, planted over 16,000 trees entirely with volunteers on 35 acres of donated land overlooked by the Pilgrim Hospital. It's known as the Dyons Wood Nature Reserve. It'll be open to the public 24/7 and has a feature of a network of all-weather paths and a lake. As you will be aware, Boston Woods Trust is a small local charity relying on generous donations, grants, legacy, and dedicated volunteers, and is run with no paid staff. Moreover, I understand that the creation of this nature reserve was the largest charitable planting scheme in the county in 2022. Despite several requests to LCC for financial help for this project, none was forthcoming. In contrast, however, as part of the planning permission for the project, LCC Highways has insisted that the charity construct 56 metres of footway on a very good grassy verge that is Highways land for an entrance that is simply to serve a car park for half a dozen cars. The pedestrian entrances are elsewhere and are long established. Now, the crunch is this. Including LCC fees, this will cost the Trust approximately £40,000, which is a significant proportion of the project budget and money that will not be available for any further improvements. If this is an example of the County Council's support for tree planting in action, I'm concerned that this policy, LCC's green policy, will be seen as little more than hot air. Please, can a way round this problem be found? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Austin, for the question, and I know you've had a number of conversations with my colleague, Councillor Davis, on the same matter. So I'm not obviously going to take a different view from the one already taken by Councillor Davis. Firstly, I'll congratulate the Trust in terms of the work they've done in planting the trees and delivering part of the Green Canopy proposals on behalf of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth. I would say that in an answer I gave earlier, I made it clear that all developments impose issues for residents and people in communities. Infrastructure is critically important, and highways do take a view, as we do in other service areas, about what's required. I think it's unfortunate that the charity feels that they're not getting support. There was no cash grants available from us in relation to the green tree planting. We've encouraged it, we've supported it, we've made trees available through the Woodland Trust and others. I'm happy to look at it and discuss it with my colleague again and come back to you, but I can't give you anything more than that today, Councillor Austin.
Chairman, may I just thank Councillor Davey. I've not been able to be in this position for a couple of years, but please bear in mind there's no connection between the Woodland Trust and Boston Woods Trust.
Are you making...
I'm fully aware there's no connection there. Thank you, Councillor Austin.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, with Chairman's discretion, I left my own question till last. It is to Richard Boutroyd, and my question relates to the growing concern for the well-being of Thirlby Youth Hostel. The property is in a concerning state of dilapidation, and I understand that there is a transition back to the County Council. I ask him for clarity of the legal ownership and the destiny forthcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. My understanding at this time is that it is a property owned by LCC. We are looking to have this property given back to us from the current tenants that have been in there. As with all properties that come back into sort of or stop being used by people and different sections, we offer it up to everyone within the council and departments. There have been no takers to take this on, so we are proposing to dispose of the property. So that's going through at the moment. But rest assured, while we do own the property, we will be looking to keep it in a safe condition from a health and safety point of view, and do whatever maintenance is required to cut grass and keep it looking tidy. So if there's any particular concerns that you do have, if you let me know, and I can take that up with the team and make sure that within reason things are done until such time as we sell the property. Thank you.
Thank you for the reply. It's the well-being and security of the property that is the main concern at the moment. Thank you very much to all councillors. We've got 3 minutes to spare. I think we've had a good debate. Councillor Brooks. You're using the 3 minutes, are we?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And I've referred to a question from Councillor Cleaver to Councillor Davis earlier about a review of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. Well, I think I can help out and save any sort of communications that Richard might have to make to Councillor Cleaver. The Highways and Transport Scrutiny Committee have been looking at this, and indeed through a working group as part of a whole raft of things that make up the traffic management in Lincolnshire. And we had a working group on the Highways and Transport Scrutiny Committee, who had a look at this and have come up with some key lines of inquiry to put forward for a potential review of traffic management in Lincolnshire, of which the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit review and things like moving traffic offences, etc., are put forward for this potential review of traffic management in Lincolnshire. And we've also moved to recommend to the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board that this is taken up by one of the Scrutiny Panel A or Scrutiny Panel B during this County Council term. So I hope that helps, but that is the latest position.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks. I will join with Councillor Cleaver in his quest and requirement for the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit to be looked into. Part of my division has Elsie Park and similar. We have some very narrow roads there. There was a motion put forward by Rob Parker, who I'm sorry is not very well and is not here today, and that was about parking restrictions. And when that was debated, of course, should we have gone any further with parking restrictions, we would find that people wouldn't be able to pass down the road at all. So the speed is very prevalent to us. So thank you very much for the questions. I think that concludes with that. I'd now like to move on to item 13 of today's agenda, which is the calendar of meetings for 23 to 25. Do I have a proposer for these, please? Councillor Martin
Have been
Hill.
circulated, Chairman. I'd like to propose.
Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you very much indeed. Are there any speakers to this calendar? I don't see any indicated. Therefore, can I ask those that are in favour of it? It's carried. I think it's unanimous as well. So thank you very much for that one. Moving on to item 14, which is the appointment of outside bodies. Do I have a proposer for this, please?
Proposed, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. And any speakers for the appointment of outside bodies? No? Okay, fine. So can I just check those of us that are in favour, please? Yep, again, thank you very much indeed. That's carried. So item 15 today is the refresh of the corporate plan. Do I have a proposer and a seconder, please, for that? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to propose the refresh of our corporate plan, which has been in place since 2019 for the benefit of how we're going to deliver for our residents. That was a 10-year plan, but it is appropriate now that we refresh that, and although the strategic priorities have remained the same, there's always some tweaking and some changes as we go through. It did go to the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board, I think the last meeting they had, and I think it was very supportive of the plan, but also some comments about being more specific about performance targets and actually what we're going to do. And following that, we are currently refreshing. We have refreshed and reordered the plan, to make it easy to access. It's in that sense, it is very easy to access. I think the committee did compliment us on the fact that it is very simple now, but also some more focused targets, of course, will be worked through as we go through the cascade through the system. So I think I'll just leave it there and move this plan, please, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Bradwell?
I'd like to second it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you
I
very
feel
much.
like a Jackie.
Yes, I refrain from saying so. Do I have any speakers at all? No, it seems not. So please may I check that everybody's in favour, please? Looking all the way around. Yep, that's unanimous again. Thank you very much indeed. So, members and officers and our member of the public up in the gallery there, who I understand is the daughter, very welcome, of my Vice Chairman. It's lovely to see you today. That concludes the business of the meeting. I'd like to wish you all a pleasant afternoon and safe journey, but please can I remind you to collect posts from the pigeonholes, which is normal, and can I also take this opportunity? I would have actually liked to have said many happy returns to Councillor Callum Cook, who's not here. He's just half my age today. Thank you very much indeed.